Namaste and greetings to welcome to your favorite management show, Manage Better. This is episode number 113. Yes, I know that I have said this very often that a show that started with the grand ambition of doing 10 shows is now at 113, all thanks to your affection and support. And I've been able to bring guests who have and this is something I get told that this show brings guests who have a variety of topics. So we've been able to cover range from, of course, what is mostly at work, uh, in terms of quality, which is my profession, then customer success, and then leadership, and more technology, more recently, future of work, and all those kind of topics. And but the one feedback I often get is that I don't bring any guests to talk about leadership. And the hidden accusation is that Anshuman, you are anti-leadership and you are against leadership. Nothing can be further from the truth because I am part of a leadership team, so I can't be against myself. But I accept the accusation that most of my content on LinkedIn and on YouTube and through these shows does not talk explicitly about leadership. There are two, three reasons. One, of course, I don't want anything I say or discuss to be construed as my official opinion in my workplace because I am a full-time employee as well. So I have to be careful around that, and everybody should be. People who are employees and creators should be clear about what they say and what how they say. The other reason is, of course, I personally believe that solid, good, old school management is equal to leadership. I don't see. I come from the Henry Mintzberg school, which says that uh, good management is leadership. There is no other need for a separate conversation. And there is another school of thought which says that most of leadership talks are about selling courses and books because it's sexier to say be a leader in 24 hours or you are the leader of your 2 square feet than to say that you are a manager of your 2 square feet or this is a management course. Nobody buys a management course. People do buy a leadership course. So with all those acquisitions and counter acquisitions, I have started thinking recently that maybe let me bring some real people who have real solid good leadership experience or are working with leaders who can give us the real stories and not the fluff and the just the peripherals, right? So, in that spirit, I have my guest today, and I will quickly introduce her quickly, and then we will get on to the. So, Rohit Bhardwaj is asking accusation or acquisition. So, Rohit, I meant acquisition. My English is not as good as yours, so may have come out as acquisition, but I meant accusation. Okay, so I'll bring Surabhi Shenoy on the screen in a bit, but let me read out a little bit on firstly how I know her. Of course, I know her as the most happening creator on LinkedIn these days. So that's how she caught my attention, and I was completely in love with the kind of capsule posts that she was churning out daily, twice a day, and each post was like years of wisdom into one page. So that caught my attention, and once I kind of latch on to somebody, I try and read more of them, what they're writing, and invariably they end up being on this show. So that's the story. But more I would say formally, Surbi is a serial entrepreneur and has had two successful exits. After the most recent exit in 2022, she's now helping founders and other CEOs to scale up their business, increase valuation, and of course to love the process. Because one of the complaints founders have is that I'm totally burnt out. I don't love this. She of course started this journey with her co-founder when she co-founded Tejora Technologies in 2000, 2005, and for the last few years she's been running this. Now, of course, the exit brings 20 years of hands-on experience of building businesses and now coaching mainly around revenue and people, and using her CEO mastery framework she's been able to help a lot of leadership aspirants and current CEOs as well. So that's a brief. Like I always say, this is a LinkedIn based show. So please head to LinkedIn, check out Surbi Shenoy. And if you like her work, do follow. And if you happen to know her, and sometimes people tell me that I connected people who were colleagues or worked together earlier and so on. So do as you please, but do check what she does on LinkedIn. With that, Surbhi, namaste and welcome to the show.
Namaste. So nice. Happy to be here, Anshuman.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, yeah. Finally, because I think I did threaten you that you will be on this show some months back, 2, 3 months back, more than that, and eventually we are on this live event today. I've actually been a little less active more recently, so because work pressure and everything, and I try and juggle a full-time job and this. So sometimes Saturdays are not Saturdays; Saturdays are Mondays. And you've seen those days.
Yeah, I see finally because finally we have an opportunity to really sit down and talk. Otherwise, we just follow on LinkedIn what's on top of our minds on that day. So that's why finally
Yeah.
that we are talking.
No, totally, and that also is a recurring theme in these episodes. Is that I keep teasing everybody who joins is that look, you guys are the audience. We are having a chat, and we are having the
Yeah,
fun. And so, so thank you for being in the show to the audience. But we, Surbi and I, are going to have a fun conversation, of course, around a serious topic. But what is life without some fun? So we will get into the questions. Will be the format of the show, of course, is that I have some prepared questions, and but usually my audience doesn't let me ask those questions, so they will come up with their own questions within a few minutes now, and some have already started pouring in the questions. So if you think you have the questions in advance, you don't have to be happy about it because there will be unprepared questions. So we'll get into that with your permission.
sure, definitely. Let's
Ah,
start.
your fandom is next level. Already people are pouring in.
Oh, that's Christina.
So, yeah, a lot of them actually. California, and man, this is the first for me. You are making me famous. Uh, Thank you, Survi. So,
We are in
so
this
all those
together,
guys,
Anshuman sir.
yeah, all those people who are joining from Surbi's feed as well, or from connection, do check out what I do. I am not too bad either, so you might might find some reason to follow me. With that plugin, we'll get into the questions. So you are now, of course, a CEO coach, Surbi, but obviously this is not how it started. Nobody goes to college or nobody starts work saying that, oh, I'll be CEO coach, and in 5 years or 10 years. Tell us a bit more about how you landed here, why CEO coach, and how this whole thing started, in summary, so that people have a context of why you do what you do.
Yeah. So my journey is typical engineer to entrepreneur. That's why when you mentioned this show is mainly as in your work and space is around mid managers and showing them what next, how can they build. I really wanted to jump in because it was a hard journey from an engineer who prefers to sit in a cubicle, write her own piece of code and test cases and delivers and go home, to me being me being as an entrepreneur was a long learning curve and journey. So started as a typical engineer, started my first company along with my husband in 2003, actually. Five, I joined him. Company was formed in three. Um, then, once you start learning the ropes of entrepreneurship, it's a bug. You want to do more. So 2007 started another company which was into health and fitness, nothing to do with technology, very retail service oriented company. And I think that company was my formative and transformational journey for from engineer to entrepreneur, because it was so service, it was so retail, it was so cash focused, it was so not known to me that I had to become an entrepreneur than as a business owner than just being a coder in a so-called founder in the company. And that's when I learned how to really own a business, what decision making is all about. and how to really create value for all stakeholders. That company got acquired. We sold. I came back full time back to my technology, Tejora Technologies, and started
Hmm.
building that company with a lot more intentionality and strategy. And I can say all of this in hindsight because at that time I was just doing what felt right. But the right definition of right has changed because of my 4 years of building the other business. And that's why I think each step in the each rung in the ladder is doing something towards our career path. We may not understand it today. And that's the long and short of my journey in terms of building businesses. Everything worked well. We always stayed self-funded. Uh, Lucky enough, and with strategies and systems in place, create a business which basically can self-fuel itself, its own growth,
Hmm.
because growth needs money. And if you do not figure out how to create that money, then you have to raise a lot of funds, go and borrow, or leave your freedom to somebody else, which I never wanted to. So always stayed self-funded. We started business for freedom of it, right? Then what's the point of
Yeah.
putting a nook in our head and neck and giving it to somebody? Was my thought. So a little bit of smartness, tact, strategies, and luck. I think everything worked out. 2022 is when I exited. The company got acquired, my technology company, after almost 20 years. And now, then next, I wanted to work, not have such a large operation like I had before, but work more for impact. And went through coach training program from ICF, learned a lot of things. I did my digital writing. That was another passion of starting to write. That's why I did a course in digital writing. That's why you see the newsletter and LinkedIn and newsletter both. That's my other side, wanting to write. So, and with all that, now I feel rather than building my one business, I'm actually building almost 10, 12 businesses by supporting these founders who are in the trenches, trying to get to the balcony and figure out how to drive their own companies and make them large, big, and solid, I think. So that's long and short of engineer to entrepreneur,
To coach.
lines of code to bottom lines. You can call it as whatever, but that's the journey.
No, no, fantastic. I think one of the reasons, Surbi, I asked this question is precisely for this because one to explain to people who are very enamored or see the whole CEO and coach and entrepreneur thing as at a pedestal. And my endeavor is to explain that look, these are successful people. They have done something in life, and they are like us. It's the same. All of us can be the people who are on this show and much more, and there is no need for seeing them as somebody from Mars or Jupiter. We are all same, same, and that's one of the reasons why I asked this question. And of course, this also question gives some context to the listener because everybody's journey is slightly different, sometimes very different, and that could give a context to why you do something that you do or how you do something. So fantastic. Let's get a little deeper. We have questions coming in. So thank you guys. Keep the questions coming in, but please understand that I will take the questions only after 15-20 minutes. So around halfway mark of the show. So from what I see, and I've been in the space, senior management space for some time, Surbi. So I see a lot of CEOs, or I'm either seeing them from close or at least close enough that it's a very lonely space. Uh, I can bitch about the company, say what I want to say, and or my colleagues, or my manager, or my team members to anybody. I will find people if I have to gossip around that. But a CEO can't really do that most of the time, and in that's a very crude way of explaining why it is lonely. It is also lonely because there is only one position and there are so many other things that you can't discuss. You can of course discuss with a board member or other thing, but not every company will have a elaborate board as well. So the question of course is that, first of all, do you agree that it is a lonely space, or it is only people like me who are lower down who can see that as a lonely space? And what have you seen that makes it very tough, both as a CEO yourself and now as a CEO coach? What have you seen that makes it really tough, that lonely space being really tough?
I will say I 100% agree that it is lonely. And it, the more you make it lonely, it will become even further lonelier. So you have a choice. I want to say that upfront. It need not be as lonely, but there is a loneliness. The factor comes in, kicks in because there are too many decisions to be made. You cannot discuss many of them. There is too much information and data that you are holding with yourself, and you cannot share that without having a fear of being misunderstood or judged, or the personal agendas kick in, and therefore you cannot share that. But at the same time, you have to make decisions, and many times the decisions which you will take will not have enough data with you. So from all angles, it kind of makes it extremely hard to take that responsibility on your sole shoulders and carry through. And if it succeeds, it's everybody's win. If it fails, it is your sole responsibility. So it is lonely in that aspect as well. And to look at it, the intent, the it becomes even intense because now you understand that your decisions are not only your decisions, but your decisions affect so many more people, their families, and your maids to your customers, all of them. Being said that, if you surround yourself with just a couple of people, you could have, that's why I always recommend have a group of advisors, mentors, coaches, and some confidant who actually can correct you, straighten you, make you be your sounding board. And they do not have any other agenda but your well-being and your growth. And there are no judgments. They know how to create a safe space for you. And that's why you can reduce that sense of loneliness, but it is still going to be there, some parts. You have to get up in 3 o'clock in the middle of the night and think about the decisions you're going to make today. Some could be really heavy. So, yeah.
Yeah, and rightly said, that makes it lonely as well. And that in a way also, and as you were speaking, Surbi, I realized that while you were explaining why the role is lonely, it also kind of explained why a coach is needed.
Yeah.
Because a CEO, if he or she is lonely, doesn't have too many people to go to for every discussion, but the discussion is required. The danger is that because you don't have people who you can lean on or trust, or because of organizational reasons, you can't go to, you might end up taking the wrong decision. So this is where a coach sometimes comes in, and I completely appreciate that aspect. So moving a little deeper into this, and I that begs a question: as a CEO coach, then what do you see is the true role for a CEO? And then supplementary question will be, what are the gaps you see in your practice? Of course, first question is, what is the true role of a CEO? A lot of people, at least I meet, and for some strange reason, in the last year or so, Surbi, uh, quite a few wannabe entrepreneurs or startup enthusiasts have reached out to me for guidance, and I keep saying that, I have zero clue. I've never been in a startup. I just look like I will know everything, but I don't. So, but they insist, and then we have some conversation, and I figure out that most of the time they have a very, you know, gold-plated view of who the CEO is, and they are only looking at the visible and the fun part and the power part of it. All of us know with who have had any experience, whether CEO, startup, corporate, hospital, whatever, where we have worked, is that CEO is not that. So my question to you is that what is it? What, according to you, is the true role of a CEO? And then we'll get into what gaps do you see.
It's a good question, and a lot of clarifications are required, I think, especially when it comes to power and what's the real role and what is understood by most of the people outside. To me, I mean, there are many roles and responsibilities that are under the role of CEO. But let's break it down into, I would break it down into three most important, crucial aspects at the top. One, first, set the vision. Where are we going? Where am I taking all these people with me? If I don't know that, we are all in trouble equally. So set the vision. Second is, I think, most important, everything is connected with people. So build a great team, as in hire the right people and ensure that they know what they're supposed to do. And the third is actually acquire consistently all the resources that are required to fulfill that vision. When I talk about resources, I'm talking about money, I'm talking about talent, I'm talking about opportunities, I'm talking about presence in the market, positioning the way it should have been done. All these become your responsibilities. So have a vision, get the right people, and third is be resourceful and provide those resources on a continuous basis throughout your journey, not just today and then tomorrow there's a dip. I think a couple of days back, last week or so, I wrote a post which had a opening line that your sole job as a CEO is to not to let your company die. That means don't run after revenue and spend money without thinking the implications. Have a great runway so that you always be able to fuel your own company and its growth. So these are the three most important things. Now, under that, you have so many other tasks, roles, and responsibilities that will come under that. Uh, from the power point of view, it's absolutely not that, because I think in my own personal experience, I think you end up pleading employees, you end up pleading customers, you end up telling them, bye, please come on Saturday and do this for me so that my customer is happy. I'm pleading customer to give us some time more. So it is all fun, but it is so much service and so much bending backward for this one person, because everything relies on what you promised to your clients and customers and even employees, and how well are you delivering that. So uh, you have power in terms of deciding where we are going and how we are going to go there. You have power in defining the values that this company will be built on. You have power over, for the greater good, what what things will you do today that would look bad, for example firing a person, if
Hmm.
it comes to that, right? You're doing it for greater good, maybe because it will save, protect the company from few other things. But these
Okay.
are hard decisions. And we as humans, we are not really good at just doing that without being affected. So there is a lot of emotional toll that comes on that. It connects back to the being lonely and having a support system. But in the role of CEO, these are the very primary objectives, goals that you need to keep in mind. What happens is most of us, including me in my, like I mentioned, right, from engineer to entrepreneur, you will know so many very strong tech people starting their own company because I have a brilliant idea. Product people, great sales people will say, "Oh, I understand market. I have so many contacts. Let me launch a company, and I will be able to sell it. As in, I will be able to get a lot of clients." We all start with one expertise,
Yeah.
which is our own core expertise. But CEO's role needs so many more, and there's a huge gap of skill set. And to really see that, accept that I need to learn all these things systematically, and investing time and effort into that will make it better for you. But the gaps, identification of these gaps will depend on how your journey has started. Where are you today? Where do you want to take the company? Uh, yeah, so gaps are many, but it's like
But
one step
whatever
at a time.
in your practice, what is the most prominent gap that you see? So, for example, the people I speak to, Surabhi, just to give context to why I'm asking this question, I see the vision and execution gap as significant.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be the next Elon Musk. A, they don't have the genius that he has, and B, don't have the hard work that he puts in. So obviously it's a no starter. It's not going anywhere. So I
Yeah.
only couple of weeks ago I gave my peace of mind, and I can be very harsh. I just look all smiling all the time, but I can be extremely brutal in feedback. And I gave feedback that, look, boss, smell the coffee. You are just putting your Elon Musk's poster on your wall. Doesn't
Mm,
mean anything, because you neither
yeah.
have the genius that he has nor have the hard work that he brings, and he has both of these and much more.
Mm,
So posters are band karo, and I advised him to get back to a corporate job, which he was doing earlier, which was not my job, but since he was asking for it, he got it. Similarly, what do you see? Because you speak to much more. I speak to a very, very small, I would say, sample size.
yeah. So, first and foremost, I think understanding of finance. Um,
Mm,
Commercials, that side is mostly, I mean, especially with the tech founders, they come from a technology background. They have never looked at numbers. They
mm,
do not understand debit and credit, profit and loss. And I was one of them that I thought if I deliver great products to my customers, my business will grow. It doesn't.
yeah.
And you end up putting so much effort, which you could have saved if you would have just understood a little bit of your own finances and the whole financial model. So that is first thing that I always notice. Second, if they are properly coming from an engineering background, they do not know how to sell, how to market, how to position, how to do branding. And they think I have a great product, but it doesn't sell. It is a wrong concept to think that you build and they will come. You build and you market and then they come. And you have to have that piece in between. So, uh, third thing that I can talk about is the communication, emotional intelligence that is required. And
Mm,
so either you drive by the vision so hard and harsh that you can actually not have any of these emotional intelligence and things, or you have both and you have a great team with you who will run with you. Choice is yours. I don't know how Elon Musk is in his emotional intelligence, right? But he has something that people stay and deliver what is supposed to be delivered and get pushed in the process and maybe enjoy that. Like I would have never achieved this if I wasn't really pushed into this way, right? And therefore I like it and therefore I stay. Um, Leadership as a corporate on the corporate level is so mellowed down that, like you said, giving harsh feedback is difficult. Most of the leaders today live under fear of not having these difficult conversations. But I also think people actually are strong to take the feedback if the intent is good. Like if the intent is really so, all these many layers of communication, emotional intelligence, sales, marketing, finance, all of these things, skills are actually missing in the founders who start something like first 1 to 3 years, no clue. And
yeah.
that's where I support them. And it's not like they're extremely smart people. They're very driven, very ambitious people. So my job becomes only to highlight that, have you considered this? And they go and they start learning that. And it's just a matter of time that they'll pick up that skill. But identification of that skill based on their own journey and where they want to go is the most important part that is required to be done.
Fair enough. I think makes a lot of sense. What I said in a harsh way, you brought in the theory and the empathetic way of saying that. So a lesson for me as well. We'll take one quick question and maybe a few. So Ramesh Sood, who's you a regular on this show, is asking a question: what is the one specific behavior a CEO must avoid, and perhaps do some inner work to ensure it doesn't manifest? Of course, by asking one specific behavior, he doesn't mean really, really one, but it could be one, two, three. But what are things that, in terms of behavior, a CEO must avoid, and perhaps do some inner work to ensure it doesn't manifest?
I
Anything
have
on
a
this?
perfect one specific behavior. Thank you, Ramesh, for
Uh,
asking that question. Really love that. Blame. Once
hmm,
you become a CEO, the biggest difference from a manager or anybody else other than the entrepreneur, one thing that you cannot ever do is blame. Blame employees, blame customers, blame market. You will never succeed. You will never be able to get out of it. It's a useless emotion and strategy. And everything that is happening. your failures and your success, you have to understand, and inner work, I'm talking from the inner work perspective, is to take 100% responsibility. It's easy to fire somebody. Your HR can deliver that, but you need to look at things. Why do this person exist in my own
Yeah.
experience? And what is it teaching me? What is this experience I'm supposed to learn? Because if you don't do it, trust me, it keeps repeating. And the person will go, but something similar will keep happening. And the moment you leave the blame and take responsibility, it is extremely powerful, because now you are in control. You are in charge. Do it or not do it. It's up to you. But it kind of frees
Yeah.
you. If you just stop that, it saves so much energy, conserves so much energy, and suddenly the power comes into you. And I think this is one trait I will say that employees really cherish. I'm saying employees as in your people, even customers for that matter. Because if you're aligned and you're going to lead that, taking full responsibility, somehow they want to help you. Somehow they want to be with you and really support you in as many possible ways. My life,
Absolutely.
my journey has been so many ups, downs, crises, all those. But there were people who just saw that my resolve to getting things done and getting out of this or grabbing the opportunity in both ways, they have aligned, and I feel they have carried me through rather than me leading them. That's my true. I hope I answered, Ramesh. Um,
Yeah.
I
I'm
see
sure.
people getting stuck, wasting so much time, blaming the world.
Mm.
No need.
That is true in general also, but more so for a CEO, because
Yeah,
eventually, if you get into that blame zone, uh, a there is never one person to blame. There is always a circumstance, a set of people, situation, you yourself. A lot of things are there involved in that particular situation.
yeah,
So blaming one person is anyway not going to help anything. And two, it takes us away from any execution that we might be doing out of that situation.
yeah,
So uh, I keep saying blame is the easiest part of that equation. And sometimes in my meetings, I have a running joke that, okay, whom do we blame for this? Quickly blame and then move on, because then you can get to actual work. So,
yeah.
because everybody is anyway thinking about blaming somebody. So I get it out of the system. Okay, let's blame one person and then get to work. How do
Move
we
on.
make sure, yeah, doesn't happen again?
Yeah,
So, of course, now it's a running joke in the company. So everybody in any meeting says, okay, today whom are we blaming? but
yeah,
but it helps. It kind of helps
yeah.
because then you get it out of the system and then move on. And if, you know so we took one question from LinkedIn. We'll take one from YouTube. And Tarun Kohli, again a regular, can you cite some pain points you observe leaders normally go through in their journey, and few suggestions for them to come out of this? So when he says leaders, he's kind of categorizing the CEO part, because that's the focus of our talk today. Anything for Tarun?
Yeah, what right now coming up in, I mean, there are many, so I'm thinking, and what is coming up in my mind right now is, uh, I have a slightly different theory about burnout, and that the burnout is actually not overwork. We really will not never get tired of a lot of work. We'll always figure out the source of energy that is required. Burnout comes because we have been frustrated for too long, and that builds up, and the not getting that success that we thought will come to us in quick, like the Elon Musk poster you mentioned, right? Quickly. And therefore, I am still continuing to walk and I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. That is creating so much pain and angst in founders, CEOs, even normal people, like anybody and everybody. Uh, I would say two things. One is on the emotional side, there has to be a point where you should know what is enough. And for this effort, for where I am in my journey, what is enough? And respect that. And be eager for more, because that's what the natural phenomena is, that is growth. But at the same time, so one on the emotional side, understand where you are and be happy with it and keep walking ahead. Second point that comes is Most of the founders, leaders I see are actually super managers. They are heroes, take the atlases of the world, carrying the world on their shoulder, not ready to put it down for 10 minutes and think that others will be able to take care of that. And that creates overwork. Now, when I exited, my exit was possible because the business was free of me. Business was run by so many people other than me. I was, I think, mostly chilling towards the end of the our existence. So build systems, have these strategies, train people. I wrote about it in my newsletter, how from founder's brain to company operating system, company OS, and where I'm actually showing how you can build an authentically you company by others, which is contributed by others. So to summarize, 2 points I'm talking here. One is emotionally that don't be so impatient, don't be so eager, don't be so uh, get bored that I need to get this fast. It is going to take time. So be ready for it. Be eager for more. And second is build system strategies, which basically will help you uh, out, I want to say outsource, but outsource from me to my team to do that. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, totally. I think knowing Tarun, I understood the slant of the question and you caught it well. Ramesh is saying thank you. Thank you, Rameshji. Uh, I'm just trying to, now that the questions are coming in, let me pick one more. I found one and I kind of have missed. Ah, so Varsha Raturi Thaplial, she's a fellow LinkedIn Top Voice and Creator Accelerator Program colleague. She's asking, do they need, do as in, do CEOs need coaching or do CEOs take coaching to relieve only work pressure? So, and she's in the coaching space and she helps military veterans to get back to work in the corporate sector.
Wow.
So maybe from that point of view. So
Thank you, Varsha. I mean, that's a really important question. And in my experience, like in the opening, I mentioned, Anshuman, that uh, I look at I work a lot. I mean, I understand emotions very at the fundamental level. What I mean by that is if you're frustrated, there is always just observe the frustration and think, why am I frustrated? And most of the time, I can tell you that it is a gap in the skill set. And I consider mindset development, developing your mindset is also developing a skill set. It's a skill. So if you're frustrated because people are not listening to you and your leadership is not accepted by them, and therefore you're frustrated, and what is the gap there? It's a skill set gap. So my short answer to Varsha here is yes, they do need coaching because if you're a product manager or if you're a developer, technical architect, or even a military veteran for that matter, you're really good at your work. But now when you're leading the company, there are so many different departments that you should answer and you should give direction to, and you don't know them. So if you have a great salesperson and you need to tell him what kind of company and product we are selling, you should know how to do sales, at
yeah,
least to guide that person. If you're reading financial reports based on which you are going to make next year's budget or help the auditors and your finance team to make budget, you should be able to tie your product backlog and the finances that are available and then say that this is what I think. What do you guys think? So yes, they do need coaching specific to skills, and also then conversation can lead to work pressures. But yes, there's a skill set gap.
fair enough. I think I just located one more. We are getting into audience questions only. I still have questions for you, Survi,
Sure.
but I think some of these questions are better articulated by them rather than me. So and no live show or no show is actually any use without the audience. So this is I am picking one question from one Ashok Prabhu. If you hire a CEO, what is the one quality that you would look? I think Ashok got excited because of your answer to Ramesh. So thinking that you could give one answer, maybe you will give him one answer. I have a sneaking feeling this question will not have one answer. But I'll read the
Okay.
question again. If you have to hire a CEO, what is the one quality that you would look for in that person, and what one question would you ask in conversation that person to determine if that person possesses that quality? So obviously, what is that one quality you are looking for, and what is that one diagnostic question you will ask to figure out that answer?
Interesting. I'm right now helping somebody, a very
Hire a
senior
CEO.
gentleman, to hire a CEO to take the company forward. And it's a big step decision for them because, they have built it with so much passion and like a family. And now the external person is coming. So thank you, Ashok, for the question. I'll try my best. I think I always talk about in CEO and the team the CEO will build second in line to have what I call is a T-shaped skill set. Now, what I mean is T-shaped skill set is that the vertical line depicts one skill which is deep, that they are experts, they're masters in that particular skill. And the horizontal line of T indicates all other facets that the business will need. So let's say me being a extremely product technical person, that's my skill. That's my vertical line. But I have to develop experience and understand how sales and marketing, positioning, finance, strategy, systems, bit of HR, and actually leading people will be done. Enough to hire the right people, enough to interview these people so that they can do the work that you want them to do in coming times. This also helps when you do not have enough skill set and there is an expert that you have hired. Let's say you're HR. When both of you have a conversation, your questions at least are much wiser than not. So I think T-shaped skill set always helps. And the quality that I would look is really the ability to take people under the wings and not show it off and lead them. That needs true, authentic self, and that needs really understanding, knowing who you are and what's the role they are playing in the company, and therefore respect it. I think if the people angle and the skill angle is blend together, you have a proper guy. Rest everything can be trained and taught. I hope I answered. It was a longer version, but yeah.
Yeah. No, no. And this question is a complicated one, so that's why I
Yeah.
said that this might not get the answer that Ramesh got. But thank you for your question, Ashok. I hope useful, and do let us know if you want more on this, and or reach out to Surbi. And that is, of course, for everybody who's on the show live and will watch it later. Do follow Surbi on LinkedIn, and if you have some love left, check my profile as well. Uh, uh, the I just wanted to move quickly also because there might be quite a few people in this live episode, Surbi, or may watch it later, and a lot of people actually get to the show later because
Yeah.
weekend being weekend, sometimes people don't catch it live, but they catch it later, or they catch the audio version of it, which I post after a week or so. So, and those are people who like to listen to something on their walk and or anywhere else. So many of these people might be in the middle management or slightly senior middle management and might be now in the running for the CEO position or something closer to CEO, let us say that category, right? CXO category. What can some of us, people like me, people like others in the show who are in the middle management, can do to become a CEO in some years? I don't want to give a time frame because that will be specific, but in some years, not tomorrow, not day after, but in some years. What can we do today to be a candidate tomorrow?
Hmm. Uh, what is coming up in me, and I think I must have written about this some time back, is to be a good entrepreneur. First, be a great employee. And
Mm.
what I mean by that is today people treat their jobs like my father and my father-in-law both worked in L&T, and every time they went through Powai in Mumbai, they would feel such a great, like joy, appreciation, respect
Joy,
that
pride,
we
yeah.
worked here and the belonging towards the company and organization. Uh, I'm not saying that it should be forced, but respecting what you have today is extremely important. First, second, from the specific skills and requirements of the job perspective, communication skill, no non-negotiable. You need to share your vision. You need to sell to the customers. You need to get all stakeholders in one line. It's always a communication that will be important. Emotional intelligence, and I mean, communication driven by emotional intelligence that you will develop. So very important. Second, I think resourcefulness, because there will always be lack of something, right? You have five parameters in a strategy and one is completely missing. So you need to know how to get that and not wait for the world to give it to you, because nobody's going to come to do that, right? You're on your own. Third thing, I think extremely discipline, being a disciplined person helps. I've seen people who are not disciplined also being successful, but when you are disciplined, there's so much predictability in people around you, right? They know she comes at this time. This is what we do. She goes out this time, and this is how we are supposed to behave and function in this organization. So the more disciplined you are, it helps because it kind of sets a precedent for everybody. Um, the one final thing that I want to tell specifically for today's mid managers who tomorrow would want to have not, I'm not specifically talking about getting hired as a CEO. I'm talking about being an entrepreneur. I'm talking about
Mm.
having your own business, founding a company. In that case, you cannot quit. Today, if the boss says something, I am
You
hurt,
can.
I'm going to go. Boss keeps calling on Saturday. I can't do this. My work life balance is missed. I'm going to quit. My pay hike was not great. Your profits are not going to be great. You can't quit. People are going to say nasty things. You cannot quit. There is no work life balance for days, months at a time, maybe. You cannot quit. So you have to have that there is no quitting. If if I would say that if somebody is listening to this show right now and if they are thinking of quitting, I would say challenge yourself to stay and see what can you do in those circumstances. If you can do that, you have a chance to get that being a founder, because you can't quit. So
No,
COVID can
totally.
come, customers can go, you cannot quit. So you have to figure out a way to stay here and get better for everybody. So yeah, I think it's a very emotional, mental strength, personality that is required first, and then the skills will come.
That reminds me, I mean, some weeks ago, I was coaching somebody who wanted to quit exactly for the same reason that I didn't get the salary hike, and my manager is very. And these days, the easiest word in the dictionary is toxic. So,
Yeah,
you have a bad day, your manager yells at you, and he or she is toxic. I want to tell everybody that's not how it works. Just because you have a bad day, it doesn't mean you are in depression. Depression is a
yeah,
clinical state. Uh, Similarly, toxicity is also a sustained behavior and environment, not a one-off day. So don't use these words lightly. I had to shut the lady down who was asking this question, young person, and obviously an emotional reaction that I want to quit, and she didn't have a job. I said, you in this industry scenario, you don't have a job, you want to quit, there is very little chance you will get hired in the next 6 months, and after 6 months nobody wants to hire you because you might be behind in your skill set. So it gets even more tougher, and by the time 1 year, then you might not want to work again, and it just doesn't improve.
yeah.
Well said. I was looking for a particular question I found, and I think, yeah. So this is a question I normally ask, but Srinivas Susarla has, I hope I'm pronouncing his name well. Srinivas has asked a question: what are your top five books that you recommend. I get this question a lot, Surbi, because of obvious reasons that you see behind me.
Yeah.
But today, today you answer this question. So over to you.
Five books. I think my top always has been a book, Good to Great.
Hmm.
I really love
Jim
that book
Collins.
because I understood leadership from that one chapter, level five leadership, um,
Yeah.
resilience and extreme humility and sheer resolve. So that's one line that I will always remember. That that's the test of any leadership. So I think that book, and then it explains the flywheel. It beautifully constructed. So
Beautiful.
that's
It's
one book definitely. Second, I think I'm less a business book reader and more of a self development, as in personal development. I truly believe of one key to growth is reflection, self reflection. So I journal every day, and from that angle, I think I wrote about this book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, because these building a business is full of worries. How do you get out of it is very important. Third, I mean, now it's so difficult. So many books that we think. I Another spiritual book, if I can recommend. It's This is not the platform, maybe, but I read that You Can Heal Your Life, and it actually tells you what your emotion means. Who are you in this world and life? And therefore, that book calmed me down. That book calmed me down
yeah.
to understand how to
Brianna
look at
Weiss.
things, and by Louis Hay, how to stop.
Yeah, yeah, Louis
Sorry,
Hayes. Yeah.
yeah. So that's my third book. Fourth book, which I read, I think 2012, 13, called The Master Key System by Charles Hannell. And
Hmm.
that book is written in 1912, so more than 100 years ago. It's complex to read every bit, but it actually talks about visualization. And it- I think it helped me to hold a vision which is steady, not today this, tomorrow that, right? Because it teaches you, it actually chapter by chapter, it builds you on what you have practiced. And it's very practical. Reading is complex because of the language, and it, but it taught me who I am again, and the subconscious conscious relationship. And therefore, when we talked about Ramesh's question, taking 100% responsibility, it kind of connects with that also. So I think I gave four, and maybe right now I'm reading a book which is Storyteller's Secret. So somebody who is very strong on TED, he talks about how stories can inspire, change behavior, mind, and people. Everything is about storytelling, right? I'm sharing everything here as stories. I think if, as leaders, we bring those anecdotes from our lives or others, it conveys the message very powerfully. So I think I would say five right now. There will be many. I think after the show, I will think, oh, I should have mentioned this. But
Maybe that is another post, Surbi, that
yeah, sure.
so,
Yeah,
and we can then thank Srinivas for his question. So yeah, fantastic. I I absolutely love the Jim Collins, Good to Great, because that was probably the I somehow feel most books after that are a photocopy of that.
mm,
In any
yeah,
some way or the other, they are building on the brilliant legacy he shared. For example, in our field, Tom Peters, wrote that In Search of Excellence, of course, with Robert
yeah,
Waterman and all. But that book remains the book for how do you approach excellence in any space.
yeah.
It's been 40 years, maybe more than that. And that book still remains, and I still have a copy. And anytime you read like one or two pages, you still think, what is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, the examples are not no longer relevant because those companies sometimes have changed and are not the same. But as a book, so there you
So
go,
you mentioned
Srinivas.
this. Just yes, in search of excellence. So
Hmm.
my father was in L&D switchgear quality control. I have done
Hmm.
most of my software part into software testing. So I'm like, I get paid to find bugs was my line, and uh, the whole of my early times in search of excellence and total quality management, TQM. These were the two things that were I was completely layered with. And when the business started, it was so difficult to maintain that perfection. And the definition of perfection kept shifting, because it's personal. Quality is different than perfection. So to
Hmm.
have that differentiation and taking a call of go, no go at the right time that was very hard for me personally to let go that need of perfection. And I told my father-in-law actually, these books that you've got in search of excellence and all, it's kind of troubling me right now.
You are making me feel old, Surbi, but I'm not that old, just to clarify to everybody. So, any reference
You
to
know,
father and father in law? Yeah,
yeah, but these are early. I'm still talking when I was 17, 18. So I'm not, I think I'm
these
not,
are,
I'm pretty old. Yeah.
these are foundational books, and I think
Yeah.
the uh, Good to Great remains in my top five management books ever, and so does In Search of Excellence.
Yeah.
We are coming to the end of the conversation, which we didn't expect will end so soon. But the last couple of minutes, anything from if people want to reach out to you after I have either listening to you live or later on the recorded version, how do they reach out to you and what can they expect in your coaching that you offer, Surbi?
As you mentioned, I write every day on LinkedIn, and I have a newsletter, which I really think is something very exclusive, and I get a chance to go in depth, bring out my own experience, and I mostly keep it very framework system tactful so that they can apply it in their own life and career and journey. And it's I write it with extreme uh, passion and research and all of that. So I would really like people to subscribe to newsletter. The link is in my LinkedIn itself. And so that's second thing. Coaching, I do very one-on-one coaching only, and I do it in a very because I think they need that lot of very one-to-one support. Because even if it's the same business, two founders are very different people. So I do that one-on-one specifically. Implementation is the key, right? There is no lack of knowledge and information today. It's actually overwhelming. What I have 100 strategies that I can apply, but which one does really apply to me and my personality and my business where it is today is what's still not known. And that confusion is creating more emotional turmoil than anything else. So I really do only one-on-one. And that also is in my featured section of my LinkedIn. So if somebody wants to schedule a call to discover how I can help, then that's where you can find me.
Fantastic, Surbi. So lovely conversation.
Same
I
here.
can't thank you enough because I was personally looking forward to this conversation. We've been reading each other's posts and often commenting as well. I'm lazy on commenting, but you are very diligent, so you comment quite often. I just like and enjoy, and then can't find myself commenting much.
Yeah.
But I think we've been both wanting to have this conversation, and thankfully, it was with an audience, and it's also recorded, so people can have a
Yeah.
look later on as well. With that, I will let you go. What I normally do is that I announce the next show in each show, but this time there are some scheduling things, so I don't have the announcement yet. But the second half of December, which starts tomorrow, is going to have a lot of action because I might not stick to my Saturday timeline. I might do 2 3 shows a week because there are a lot of people and people have a little free time in this period, so I'll do
Yeah.
that. And those who reach out to me for any coaching conversations as well, like you can of course reach out to Surbi if you are in the CEO or entrepreneur zone. But if you are having a career issue or career guidance, I have for the last 2 weeks of December, all my top mate and spec bookings will be at half price. So go ahead, take advantage of that. With that, Surbi, thank you very much. I'll let you go, and thank you very much to my audience, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely.
Same here.